Hello, and welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Jeffrey Card, and over here is awesome programmer Dru Staltman. Dru Staltman's going to be playing the game with us today, and we don't really have some kind of huge agenda right now. We're just going to chill and play the game, and if you guys have questions, we'll answer them, or miss them, because that's what we do a lot of the time. And we're going to try to keep try to see if we can actually keep some characters alive this time. How does that sound? So, oh, my camera's going out of focus. That was weird. So, Dru, here's my community. So we had a request from a viewer last time. Oh, right. Sorry about that. We had a request from a viewer last time to move to the Mazzara farm because we'd spent so long in Camp Kalenko. Everybody was sick of it. So we're right here, almost in the middle of the map. My people have been complaining about infestations. There's a few over there in the west and one down there in the east. We were really low on meds for a long time. My guys weren't healing, but I think I've just barely fixed that problem. And we've got some requests from Enclave guys, including we can murder some people in a hostile Enclave down in the south there. So, whatever you feel like doing, really. I mean...
Alright. Well... Yeah. What do you got around the area? It sounds like meds. I like scavenging in this game. Just kind of chilling. I don't really... I play pretty mindless when I play these games.
Yeah, that's kind of how I like. I'll usually have like one particular goal in mind, but then along the way I'll get distracted by like 9 different things. It's why I never finish Bethesda games. Is because I'll have a goal in mind that the game's given me, and then I'll do 900 other things on the way to doing it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna bring. So we got these are our 2 non-wounded characters. So that's why
I lucked into asking the right person. Sweet.
Yeah. So, but she's also one of our newest recruits. So you know, gotta be careful with her. She's not too. She's still kind of green.
Is this from the expansion pack thing?
Yep, I only had 1,000 influence to spend, so I can only grab one of the cars. But because when Brian was demoing the Independence pack, I think he got literally like all 3 cars stuck on fences and in holes and on rocks, and so I wasn't able to use any of them anymore.
Is the Independence pack still live? This is how little I know about what's going on with the live game.
Oh, you mean, yeah, we still got the, I think it's going to be a while before the revolutionary zombies go away. So if you want to kill some redcoats, you know, you probably got a little bit of time left before we make that go away. But of course the Independence pack, content like the trucks and everything like that all sticks around for as long as you want it, so.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Oh man, you missed a couple of posts on that fence.
Yeah, this is actually like my favorite thing to do in the game is to just run over fences.
You know, especially the contrast between this and the original game where like all fences were made out of like solid steel. So I should mention, Megan, our community manager, is in the chat, and if I miss your questions in the chat, which I do all the time because I can't take my eyes off the screen, then she'll probably forward me some of the questions so that I can try not to miss too many of you. And also, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to be doing 2 giveaways. One like halfway through the stream and another one near the end. And it'll be about kind of semi-obscure lore questions, so sort of get your lore brains all revved up. Oh, True Vulgarian Wonderson, I don't know if either of us actually knows the answer to this question. Whether like running over an entire fence actually damages the vehicle?
In a little bit.
Just like
not too much.
Not like hitting a zombie or especially hitting a juggernaut.
Yeah, I mean the juggernauts do extra damage. There's like very little damage from them as far as I know, but like it's similar to, you know, if you run into a tree, like you'll damage the car.
Yeah,
so.
And we can definitely see, I mean, you've mostly just been hitting, you've hit a couple of zombies,
yeah.
But you can see we've got a little bit of wrinklage going on, dentage.
Like, I'm pretty sure they do just a tiny, tiny amount, but it could have changed too.
Yeah, it's one of the things about making a game the size of this is that, you know, get any 2 people in here and they don't know the answers to 90% of the questions.
Oh, you guys never got the truck from the starter scenario.
So yeah, no, we didn't. So I had a truck very similar to that we were driving around, and I eventually just demolished it and had to abandon it by the side of the road. Oh, I think it might have actually exploded during when I was sort of trying to set up for this stream. So you've worked on teams that were very small before, though. Like I've only worked on teams that were at least a dozen people, but you actually did like indie development with very small teams.
Yeah, the last game I shipped before this was 4 people. And then the one before that I shipped was 30 or 40. I can't remember how big That was
Does it
Spring
give you
Queen.
whiplash to go back and forth between?
Not really. I mean, everything's a new challenge. Like, there's just a different. It's. I can focus on things in a different way. I didn't have to write an audio system for this game. I didn't have to rewrite an entire UI system for this game. So a bunch of stuff like that I just sort of did before. There's a bunch of things that you just kind of, I don't know. Everything in gaming is different. So I never really focus too much on exactly what I'm working on, because I mean, making a game is, I'll do whatever it takes to make a game, and whether that's typing or clicking or talking or whatever. Like, I just like making games and working on games.
Now that makes sense. We got a question. Xenocidal Angel wants to know, and Xenocidal Angel, by the way, an alien murdering angel, sounds pretty terrifying. Legitimate question. Why no content drop to compete with Grand Theft Auto DLC drop? I just don't think we think about it that way. I don't think we really think like, oh, there's all these games out there that when they do a content drop, we've got to do one to like fight them. I think we all just kind of coexist kind of happily with each other.
That seems about right. I mean, we timed our update to be timed with the 4th of July, and so we don't have that much to go. Releasing too much content back to back it's a lot of work. So.
Yeah. So we do kind of want to spread it out, but really it's just kind of, we're just sort of on our own schedule, and we figure that the gaming audience is large enough that you don't need to treat it all like a zero-sum game. Like if twice as many amazing games come out next year compared to this year, I think the gaming audience will buy more games. It's not just that that means that better games are going to have to fail now because there's just so many of them. I think that people kind of scale what they spend their money on. We're competing partly with each other, but we're also competing with movies, we're competing with TV, we're competing with such a huge variety of things. I don't think we can just target specific other developers and say like, oh, that's our enemy. We've got to fight them.
Those games, some of those games are just so big, it's just not even worth trying to. I mean, it's worth getting out of the way of them on some level too.
Yeah, that's true. Something like a Rockstar game. A lot of times you just say like, well, let's just not come out that month. Let's just let them have that month, and then we can go do something else.
Where are the other containers in here? I've never been in this part of this map, so.
Oh yeah. And yeah, it's like this game is so large. It's like it's hard to really get to know the entire thing extremely intimately, which is kind of cool because even we have been testing this game for years. We still find things we hadn't noticed before. I've found a bunch of places just while I was getting this save ready. I started wandering in a place I didn't wander that much and found a bunch of like hidden containers to search and stuff like that I didn't even know was there. Blaze Experience wants to know, are there any chances for increased interaction with allied enclaves in terms of missions in the future? He thinks it would be really cool to enhance the feeling that they're your allies by working together more often.
I can't speak to the content schedule, but like there are facilities to do that. It's just an issue of, time and if that's where we want to spend the resources.
Yeah, I know that we did a content drop recently that added some new ambient missions to the game, and so that there would be more variety. Those kinds of the missions that aren't part of one particular storyline, but that just sort of give you more stuff to do out in the world or with your allies and stuff like that. We had a drop of those, but that's an interesting idea. Trying to focus on the idea of collaborating together and not necessarily always just sort of performing services for them. So we'll have to keep that in mind. That's a good idea, Blaze.
You're the boss.
So Han Solo Dolo wants to know if multiplayer rewards on the Xbox have been fixed yet. He says he's been waiting for it to be addressed before he jumps back into killing zombies in multiplayer. If I recall, there was an issue where you would earn a bunch of rewards in multiplayer by playing in co-op with friends, but you would come back to your base and then they wouldn't arrive. Is that? Do you remember that exactly?
I don't. The reward stuff, I haven't been working on live fixes lately. I've been working on some other stuff that I probably can't talk about. So
that's one of the challenges of these streams is you never quite know exactly what you can say.
We have some people working on rewards, but I don't know in what regard. So
I'll have to check with some of those folks and find out for you on Solo Dolo. So hit me up on Twitter, and we'll have to. I'll double check that for you. So Noble Might wants to know: is there a date for when we get our traders back? Independence Pack traders are holding my game up. So in my experience, like the other traders aren't completely eliminated. Like while I was preparing for this stream, I had an Independence Pack trader, and I also had another trader, and I was buying stuff and selling stuff with both of them. But the Independence Pack trader did end up being more dominant than we intended, and I believe, from hearing chatter around the studio, I believe that we do have a fix for that. I'm not sure when the next drop is, but unfortunately we never really get to talk about the dates of future drops because it's so easy for something to hold them up, and sort of anything we say now that we believe will be true could end up not being true later on by accident. So we're very careful not to try to announce dates or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure that there is a fix for that issue that's in the hopper, ready to go whenever we do our next drop. So do have hope and check that out when it arrives.
Oops. Let's forget how to do the right trigger. Whoops. Oh well.
Did we have a gas can in there that we lost?
Well, got you a grenade launcher.
Oh, sweet.
Some other stuff. Just put it all away. I need to get the gas can now.
Now I need to get myself with that extreme ammo press, or whatever we call that thing, the heavy duty ammo press, so that I can start making some 20mm grenades, because that would certainly make certain challenges a lot easier. P1 Gamer wants to know whether we managed to get sorting into the supply locker, particularly the guns tab of the supply locker.
I used to sneak in
And
movies.
I believe that's in. I actually do think we have that.
Not
Not out live in the game yet. But
is that, I don't know when that big drop comes, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how to talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know release schedule a lot of this stuff.
But the thing is, I believe the last time I had someone in here who really was intimately familiar with that system, they said that yes, we do have an answer for that. We just don't. Again, we can't say when things are going to come out, but we do have an answer for that because I think it's one of those issues where it's a quality of life thing even for us. When we're testing the game, when we're trying to get a particular gun matched up with its ammo, or get a particular mod on a gun, being able to find them more easily is a big priority for us.
I feel like it's done, but I can't. I don't know exactly when it's coming.
So Han Solodola wants to know, speaking just, throwing caution to the wind, what would be your dream feature to add to a future State of Decay game? Something that you would just love to see. We are making zero promises. If he even answers this, we're making zero promises about whatever he says having anything to do with any future game that we come up with.
Oh man, I don't even know. So the type of programming and stuff that I do, I typically focus on development tools for content folks to create stuff. So like our mission system, I built a lot of the mission system and the mission editor and things like that. And so like this type of stuff that I'm actually that I'm really wanting to do for future stuff is just making it so that it's easier to get missions in the game and tested and out the door as fast as possible, so that we can really unlock more and more narrative potential. And so I've sort of I just sort of live in that land of hey, if I make an editor, let's say I make the editor so that it's 30% faster to get a mission in the game, that means we're going to get significantly more and better missions in the game. And so that's the sort of stuff that I'm currently thinking about. And so it's hard for me to shift to a specific actually in-game feature, because I've always wanted to do we had some of the stuff that we had dreamed of doing in the mission system. I still would really like to do, and I just don't know. I don't even know how to talk about that stuff because it's we never shipped it and we didn't talk about it before either.
Well, there's always trade-offs involved in that stuff, right? Because the more powerful you make a tool, the more detailed the options that you give, say me, if I want to make a mission, the more options I have, like the more powerful and detailed and complex the missions can be, but also it adds a certain amount of overhead. So each new mission I make, I'm like, oh, well, I gotta go jump through all these hoops and do all of these things every single time I'm making a mission, and you end up like in this weird zone where you're trading off between how quick it is to get a mission in, how powerful the tool is, and if you find solutions that are both quick and powerful, then it's amazing. But like I don't know, coming at like say if you got to start completely over from scratch and just build the whole thing from the ground up. I mean, I know I sit there fantasizing about how I would rebuild the character system from scratch. I mean, I wasn't a programmer on it, but I was heavily involved in planning and designing the tools.
Right.
And I just think like, oh no, if it worked this way, then everything would be much better. Like, are you in sort of that zone with the mission system?
A little bit. I mean, honestly, the mission system that we have can do probably more than it needs to do in a lot of ways.
We actually repurposed it to do a bunch of things it was never designed to do.
Right. And so, like, I mean, there are certain things I would like to do to make it so that it is both easier to use and more powerful. And the biggest thing that we have with it is debuggability and testing. Like, our game is so difficult to test that because almost every mission can exist in, every mission has to exist in one of 3 maps. Every mission can potentially exist in one of hundreds of different types of locations. Every type of thing we do has to, work for all of those. Oh, this is so hot. So there's all these sorts of variables that have to go into play, and the bulk of the amount of the work that I did on the mission system at the end was largely just like finding ways to test it so that test could get a better look at it, and then find a way that, hey, this tested a specific way. How do we get a designer to be able to repro this quicker? And like we have all these. I don't know if this is a dev builder, if we want to show off dev tools.
No, this is a retail build.
But like there's dozens of dev tools that we've created to try to like open up the door for things to happen faster, because in my opinion, if it's not debuggable, it's not shippable, and our mission system is hard to debug right now.
Yeah, like I remember like a lot of the times, a lot of our interactions on the team have been, I'm working on a mission and I try to spawn that mission and it runs into a problem and it can't spawn, and I can't tell why it's not spawning, and so I have to come crawling to you and I'm like, Dru, help me. And then not only do you help me figure out, like part of your job in that case is helping me figure out what went wrong, but then rewriting the tool so that when that thing goes wrong, something pops up to tell me what's going on.
So that's a lot of it. Like, so, the way that, it's hard to talk about this stuff without showing it, in my opinion. But like we have a bunch of in-game tools. We have Unreal, some tools there. We have some other tools that we built externally to like, do a lot of stuff. And it's like, okay, we talk about missions like casting, like the way you cast like a TV show. So we're like casting these characters in this story, and a lot of the complexity of the system comes in how to cast not only characters but locations and things like that. And so when we're trying to figure out ways to cast things more efficiently, then a lot of it comes down to like, how do we display correctly, like, oh, this character was in a mission. Well, what mission is that character in? That's why we can't cast him. Or, oh, why can't we cast this location? Oh, because this location is surrounded by another enclave, and enclaves have to be a certain distance apart for a bunch of different reasons. And we have some other technical limitations we have to put on the system. How do we present those to the designers? And it's on and on and on. And like, as the system becomes more complicated, it becomes harder to address all those issues, harder to expose all those issues, and also keep all those issues flowing together. Like the mission system, the initial mission system when we switched to Unreal, I wrote in, I don't know, a couple of weeks tops. And the core of that system is the same. We have the way that we cast things, we have the type of objectives you can have, and we have basically triggers. We call them mission events in this, which is when a certain thing happens, we trigger these events, like playing a dialogue, or spawning a zombie, or throwing up a piece of the UI, or giving you rewards, or all those sorts of things. That core system was architected early, and it hasn't really shifted. And so all the complexity has come out of like, okay, When we started it, we had 4 casting types. We had characters, we had locations, we had enclaves, we had items. Those were the 4 different things you would cast. Now we have within those we have subtypes. So that for characters we have radio characters, we have regular characters, we have enclave characters, we have the player character. For items, we have items in a container, items on a backpack, items in a character. We have
item lists where we can choose a random item.
Right, and all these things come, like making this giant combinatorics list of how do we approach getting all that data to the designer so that it's very easy and hopefully, they don't have to think too much about like all the stuff that you would have to do to make a mission actually flow. Like I think we've actually done a pretty good job about being like, hey, a lot of the stuff that in other games I've had to worry about on the mission system, we just hide. Like we just don't we just don't even give you the option of doing certain things, which is good and bad. But then also, we open up for you to do all sort. Is it this one?
I think it's the other one behind you.
I don't know. I think we made good and bad decisions all across the board, and some of the decisions we made earlier was honestly for a different game, and so that we end up in a situation where a lot of the stuff that we made in 2016 when we switched to Unreal, we made some decisions. We're like, this is what we're going to do in this game, and then in 2017 it's like, oh no, we actually want to ship a game. This is not what we're going to do anymore. And so we had to effectively pivot, to use a jargony term.
But yeah, as over the course of development, you'll often run into things where you'll be playing the game and you'll realize, oh, the game can't be the way I imagined it a year ago. The game has to be a different way. But we don't have time to just start over from scratch and rebuild our tools from scratch to match the new game that we know that we're making. You have to somehow take the tools you already have and adapt them to work. And so you'll find that some of our features that go on in the community, like say managing morale or the events where people spill resources and things like that, all of those, they look like they are just a part of the base system, but they actually are co-opting the mission system to make events happen because that's the tool that we had, and we were sort of, the later you get in development as you're building things, the more you're kind of locked into the tool you have, and you've got to kind of run with what you already have instead of getting to start over from scratch and just build your dream tool. Xenocidal Angel actually had a question that feels like it's kind of almost answered by the conversation we were having, because he was asking about how long do we have to wait for a mission to respawn for legacy goals. And this is an issue that people have had sometimes where, we've got most of the missions in the game are just randomly generated, right? And it is not super critical that you that you complete this particular mission or that particular mission. And if it has trouble casting, well, that's fine, do something else.
Right.
But the legacy goals are different. And they were something that we added a little bit later in development. And so,
those are special cased. They try to cast a lot, we try to make the mission spawn all the time, basically. The things that can happen is your legacy character is basically always required for those missions. So if that character is in another mission or in a state where they can't be in a mission, then they can't be cast. So a lot of the time it's just like...
You've got a toolkit. You can repair that vehicle.
Okay.
Provided that your friend can keep the zombies off your back.
Well, there's just a horde nearby. She's got it.
Ah!
No way am I catching this blood lake bullshit.
I like to play the game where I'm a pacifist, so I don't actually harm the zombies, and the other teammate does all the killing. I will hold them for them.
That's awesome.
So I will do a lot of the starter arc stuff, the starter missions, which is when you come out of the tutorial, the getting your base, learning how to do all that stuff. I worked on a lot of that stuff, so I've played that thing more than I haven't played probably any other mission in this game. In fact, when I watch streams of people playing it, I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had that mission in this game.
Because you were so focused on that narrow subset of missions.
But so when I play that, I have to make it more interesting for myself. So I frequently play the my character won't harm any zombies version of the game, or I'll only backstab zombies, or that kind of a thing. I basically make my own achievements to make the 50th or 100th run of that mission more,
palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good strategy. I hadn't thought about doing it that way. Let's probably try that now that you've said it.
Or, only back over zombies. Don't run them over forward. That kind of a thing.
Sailor Wolf wants to know if more story is going to be added to the game. I don't think we can make any specific announcements about the future story of the game, but I think one thing that you can definitely expect is that as new expansions and things like that come out, at the very least we're going to be sort of expanding your understanding of this world that the game takes place in, because the real story of State of Decay isn't really the broader story of the world. It's the story of your community, and that's not something that we can tell. You guys are the ones who are telling that story through your choices and which missions you engage with, and the strategy that you use. Like, that's what kind of creates your community story, and that's always going to be the real story of State of Decay is what you do. But the rest of it is more to sort of world development. So each thing we do that sort of takes you to a new place or to a new experience in our world kind of expands the lore a little bit. Which reminds me, in just like 4 minutes or so, we're going to do a giveaway based on your knowledge of lore trivia about State of Decay too. So be ready for that. Don't leave right now, because this would be the worst time to leave, because then you just miss out on the giveaway. Let's see here. Hansel Ladola wants to know, if you had to become a zombie, which kind would you be?
I
think I'm naturally adapted to be the screamer, because folks who follow our stream have witnessed the fact that I frequently my guest will be too quiet, because I've tested the microphones at my volume, and I haven't prepared it for the volume that normal humans speak at. So I think I would be a screamer whether I liked it or not. So that's probably what I'd choose.
I'm gonna go with crawling zombies, the ones with no legs.
The ones that no legs and no arms that are just like...
Yeah, I call them worms.
It sounds like a relaxing way to be a zombie. You don't have to march around the world all day.
You still got the same level of I'm going to get there, but you're just going to get there a lot slower, and you're probably not going to do anything when you get there.
Yeah, they're kind of the chillest of zombies. It does feel like it sort of fits your vibe. Blaze Experience wants to know, is it possible to include multiplayer exclusive missions, something you would have to have a friend to complete, or that only shows up when you're there in multiplayer?
It is definitely something we kicked around. We ultimately had some desire to do it, and we ran out of time. But some of it also came down to would we make multiplayer exclusive missions, or would we adapt some missions to add multiplayer to them? There's sort of which one would have been better. We never really sort of on the multiplayer side of things never really came to a decision on that. Yeah. I think both would be great. We did opt for the game not to get harder when you have another player in. The difficulty of the game. So one thing that's actually a challenge in our game to make the game significantly more difficult for 4 players is zombies all die with a headshot, right? So,
yeah. Oh, did we just run out of batteries? Or
no, it's still there. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, that's weird. Let me look for a... that's odd.
We definitely wanted to do some multiplayer stuff, and we've definitely talked about doing more with multiplayer. So I can't really talk too much about what we want to do with it, but it is something we've definitely talked about, and it's something that I think we definitely want. This is a multiplayer game, and making it more exciting to be in multiplayer is a good thing to have.
So I might have to go back to my desk to grab a controller cable to resync that sucker.
Let me pop the battery and see if that helps.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, we got it back. Sweet.
And it's just driving without me.
That was it. Oh, what?
It thought the trigger was on. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Everything's fine? Okay, good.
I think so. I just needed to...
I guess we'll find out.
I needed to redo a controller thing.
True Vulgarian says, in single player, it pauses now when the controller is disconnected, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah. As long as if the game was flagged for multiplayer,
it might not
then
have.
It wouldn't. So like now, if I pull the battery out, for instance, it's gonna say, but the game's still running.
Gotcha. But because we normally run this in just single player,
Right.
then we can pause. Well,
Now we're paused.
Woohoo!
All right.
Yeah, so I have a tendency to lose my driver's side door all the time. So yeah, I think when I first started trying to prepare for this stream by beefing up my community a little bit, like all of my cars had no driver's side door. Yeah, so Blaze Experience, is suggesting that something like a giant horde might be something you need a friend for. But that's one of the challenges is like, what do you really need a friend for? Like, it's hard to come up with a thing that you need a friend for in this game that you couldn't do single player if you just decided to, if you were just an incredible badass.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is that it's harder to understand what we want to do until we have the facility to do it, right? Like, in the mission system, for instance, like we didn't know, like what having, a certain type of mission event was going to do, and we added it in. It allowed us to create a whole new slew of types of missions, and so just by unlocking multiplayer, which we can do, and we've talked about doing, especially with like ambient missions. Once we have those in, it just unlocks like designers to be like, oh, this is a thing I didn't realize we could have done, that kind of a thing.
Because we had one of the challenges is like if you, for instance, like a dialogue objective. Normally, I believe that like only the host can initiate a dialogue, can do a dialogue objective, and if you're a guest in the game, you can't just go up to somebody and talk to them. But that was something we had to do. We had to make that decision intentionally because we had debated about the possibility of like, well, what if the guest could just go have the conversation without the host on their own and make their own decision for the host? Like, what ramifications would that have? And would people feel, would people understand what was going on in the mission, or would it just get really confusing for everybody?
Yeah, and we also made the decision that there's no shooting at humans until like aggression has happened. And that was so that someone, like if you shoot up a flare, someone could come in your game, find an enclave, shoot some people, and then your world is upset. And so like there's definitely some anti-griefing sort of mechanisms that we had to put in place.
And also like the NPCs could also grief you by like stepping in the way when you're about to shoot a zombie.
Right.
And now you've done distinguishing between a firearms accident and an aggressive murderous action is virtually impossible. You have to be a human watching the game and assessing what you think happened in order to decide which of those things happened. The game can't figure it out. Right. There's no way to be sure. So yeah, it's tough because you think of all these cool moments you could create if you allowed this feature or that feature, but then sometimes when you actually spend a day thinking all the way through all the ramifications of that feature, as cool as the initial idea was, all of the giant headaches that it creates make it just not worth it at all. So you are almost out of gas in the Burninator.
Yeah, but Tammy's over here. We gotta see what Tammy's got going on.
Hopefully Tammy has a car. So Typed Metal asks, have you considered adding unique or boss zombies? I guess it depends where you draw the line between normal zombies and boss zombies. We definitely have some zombies that are special in our game. What would you consider a boss zombie that's different from, say, a Juggernaut? It's hard to...
Yeah, we don't really have unique zombies. So that's definitely something that we, it's hard to say what we want to do. There are other types of zombies that we've talked about and stuff. It's just zombies are, they're a really important thing, and I don't know how to like.
Yeah, it's
you never know.
You never know. But one of the one of the concerns is the fact that this game is designed to be played kind of indefinitely. You can play you can get through a single playthrough in it in several hours. Where you get a legacy and you unlock a legacy boon and you've completed the story of that community. It doesn't take that long to do that, but that's kind of the game is built for us to be able to be played over a long extended period of time. And so any unique zombie where you literally only run into that zombie one time during the game, over the long period of time, that zombie becomes less and less valuable. Somebody who plays the game for 5 hours might think that zombie's an amazing experience, but for somebody who plays the game for 500 hours, they've forgotten that zombie existed by the time they get to the end of that. And so we have to usually structure the game around the idea that somebody might play this game for a very, very large amount of time, and the kind of content we build has to cater to that. One thing we have not done yet is our first giveaway. So why don't we get to that real quick? So break out your knowledge of State of Decay world lore, because we are going to do a giveaway. So the giveaway is a code for the Independence Pack. We're going to do one for our friends over at Mixer and another one for our friends over at Twitch. And so basically the way it works is when you see the question, throw the answer into the chat, and if there's a lot of competition for the first slot, for the first person who came up with the answer, then Megan, who's our community manager, she's gonna count up the first dozen or so people and make a random choice. So being first is not necessarily going to guarantee that you're right. We wanted to that you get the prize, because we want to accommodate for people having different amounts of lag and that sort of thing. But if you guys are ready, here comes the question. Who is the leader of Red Talon? And not just, you hear like 3 different voices on the radio from Red Talon, but one of them is actually in charge. So there's the question. So if you want to get a free code for the Independence Pack, go ahead and throw in the answer. Now, I'll give you, people are saying Brant. I don't think that works. So the leader of Red Talon. And here, maybe I can throw on a little bit of a hint here. I'm just going to type up a hint real quick. I want to make it a little bit, I don't want to give it away, but... So here's a little hint. So if you were having trouble figuring out who the top leader is, maybe this, if you've been playing the game since Lifeline, their son appeared in State of Decay Lifeline. So maybe that'll help you narrow it down a little bit. So we got a lot of folks that are choosing the most common voice that you hear a lot on the radio from Red Talon. I've seen a lot of answers that are the voices you hear the most, but those folks are not actually in charge. They're the person that you hear a lot, but they're not necessarily the person who's the boss. So while you guys are deliberating and throwing out answers, and while Megan is tabulating the answers, we'll switch back to the gameplay here. What's going on? Oh my gosh! It looks like I was missing the good part here. Oh, nice! Whoa! That was a beautiful narrow escape.
We're doing good.
Yeah. So here, Sploom has a question. Are we gonna have zombie animals, dogs or bears, etc.? So we've talked about that, and the answer that Foggy, our design director, usually gives is, you know what? Animals are scary enough without needing to be zombies. Like run into a bear and run into a zombie bear. I don't know which one I'm more scared of. I mean, they're both bears, right? Like, you don't need to be more scary than a bear. So I if the franchise ever includes animals, which is definitely a very open question, please don't die. Oh no! Oh! I think you got him. You got him. Anyway, if we ever have animals, I doubt we'll have zombie animals because we don't need them. Animals are awesome, with or without. Okay, well, so it looks like we've got a winner on Twitch for the quiz, and it looks like we didn't actually get anybody on Mixer with the answer. But here, let me throw it out here. We have got. Let's see here. Let me make certain that nobody. I'm not seeing it. It's not. So it's not Lieutenant Meredith. Lieutenant Meredith. He's only a lieutenant. He's not in charge of Red Talon. He's just the messenger. And it's not Sasquatch, because holy crap, would that be a different organization if Sasquatch was in charge? It is not Sasquatch. The answer is Teresa Weston. And so she is not the most common voice you hear on your radio from Red Talon. She is she only Meredith brings her in now and then to make a comment here and there, but yeah, but she lost her son in the original in State of Decay Lifeline. Whether you rescued him or not, I think it's hard to keep that kid alive. So she ended up being the sole survivor of her family. She ended up taking over this huge organization that sort of outlasted the U.S. government, and so now Red Talon is one of the the major sources of law and order out on the frontier. So Teresa Weston, she is the boss. So if you didn't get so our winner over on Twitch is Big Chungo 69. So Big Chungo 69, congratulations! You're gonna get a copy, free code for State of Decay, the Independence Pack, and so congratulations. But if you didn't get it, we have an even more obscure and difficult and ridiculous question for the end of the stream. So look forward to that, and have Wikipedia open or something. And in the meantime, let's head back
I am so sick of
to what's going on with Dru.
Just looting stuff.
It's looting stuff, normal stuff. I appreciate you enriching my community. This is one of the best parts of running the stream for State of Decay is that I have other people collecting things for me in my game. So I don't have to do quite so much of the work. So Takuro Spirit. Weston Allied Industries, the company that was introduced in State of Decay Lifeline, Hadley Weston's parents were the owners of it. It's actually they were a food shipping company. They at least involved a food shipping company, but they also own Red Talon. They also own a lot of things. It's like almost any major, really large corporation you look into, in the United States, will usually own a lot of different things. They'll maybe have one thing they're most known for, but they were pretty diversified. And so the Westons are pretty diversified. And it turns out that that they made a good bet. That even though they owned so many different major leading companies in different industries, the one that ended up mattering the most was their private military contractor that they owned, which was Red Talon. So. But their food shipping network, I'm sure, was very valuable towards for keeping communities alive and stuff in the wake of the zombie apocalypse. So Bloody Sparta 7 had a question about how skill upgrades work, and was saying that they don't seem to be working right away. There's a lot of things that you might be referring to, Bloody Sparta, and so I'm not exactly certain what your question is, because when you talk about skill upgrades, maybe you're talking about when you get 7 stars in a skill, and you can sort of level it up by choosing a specialty in that skill, which there's different ways that can have obstacles that could delay it. Or maybe you're talking about when a character doesn't have a 5th skill and they use a skill book to add a new skill they didn't have before, because that also has its own challenges. So if you want to come back and sort of clarify your questions, there's a lot of different answers I could give you, and I'm not sure which one you want. Sir Mix-a-Lot wonders what our favorite weapons are.
So I like to cheat in a Scar. That's the gun I use when I'm cheating, which is how I play the game. So that's, I guess, that one.
Yeah, it's interesting because the names that the guns use in our cheat menu are different from the names.
Oh, that's like a real gun, isn't it?
It is yeah. So,
no.
That one. I think it actually is called a Scar in game too.
Oh, okay.
But I was just saying that a lot of the time, I might have a favorite gun that I run into when I'm playing just as a regular old player, and then if I want to go grab that gun when I'm when I'm testing the game. Oh, he just popped out of a door to attack the feral. Anyway, when I'm playing the game to test it, a lot of times I'll want to grab that same gun and I'll look at the cheat menu and I'll have no idea what gun I'm talking about. So yeah, so I've got a few cheat menu options that I really like, but let's see. Honestly, the Scar has kind of been a favorite of mine since before State of Decay. It was my favorite my favorite gun to use in Modern Warfare 2. And so it kind of has a sweet spot in my heart.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think though I have become a fan recently of the Starshank launcher, just because it has the ability to shoot a feral in the face and have its face erupt in flame and sparks, and then then it runs around freaking out and then explodes.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. That might be a new favorite of mine.
I don't know that I've used that one. Is that a DLC, the firework gun?
Yeah, that's one of the firework guns. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen those.
So it's definitely a more of a. I tend to favor precise weapons over like weapons that just spam massive amounts of ordnance. So the pyro launcher, which was the other gun that came out in the Independence pack, that one fires like 20 fireworks, and you can't fire any less. It fires exactly 20 fireworks, and it just pelts an area like a cluster bomb. Whereas the Starshank, it just fires. You can only load 2 in. And it fires just one at a time, and so you have to make that one shot count. Let's see here. Jawiki Demon 420 asks, "Is the dev gun obtainable?" I'm not sure if he's asking about the scar that you cheat yourself, because that one is in the game. It's just you find it for yourself. There is one that was like a durability test gun that some people used to cheat themselves. They used to like mod the game to get access to it, and it might have actually showed up naturally in a couple places. I think there was an item list that some enterprising mission designers used that they didn't realize they weren't supposed to use that included.
Seems possible.
Yeah, the durability test gun. So I think that it's been removed from regular circulation. I don't think you can just find it in the world anymore like you used to when the game first was released. But certainly if you're a modder, I mean, it's still there. We do have kind of a general rule that we don't delete content from the game if we can absolutely help it, because if we do, your save game could get confused, because your save game contains tons of information, right? Like, and if we take any of that information and make it meaningless, we could really hose your save. And so we've had a lot of problems with that, like during development before release, where it's like somebody deletes something and then, everyone's save is hosed, and then we have to fix it.
Yeah, we didn't exercise a lot of our tooling around save game updates that we should have. We've gotten better at it though, so hopefully we're not doing that anymore. But it's a complicated thing with the way that some stuff got built by us. And the way that the Unreal Engine works. We're still learning. We're still actually a relatively small team, all things considered. Yeah,
even if we know the right way to solve a problem, a lot of times it has to get in line behind the other things we're trying to do with the small team that we've got. But what that means is that the enterprising modders can find a lot of weird stuff, amongst our items, things that that we tried that didn't quite work, things that we just created solely to test something, things that we ended up cutting because of balance issues or something. A lot of that stuff is just sitting there waiting for somebody to figure out how to unlock it. So we don't actively try to pursue people for doing that. Though we definitely don't want. We definitely try to be careful with things like Independence Pack content and stuff like that, because people pay good money for that, and we don't want to necessarily make that a little bit too easy to sort of to make that purchase feel invalidated. Let's see here.
Hey, honeys, I'm home. Oh, this is
So
great.
P1 Gamer says, "I love the trucks. They seem stronger than regular vehicles with armor. Am I wrong? Are they both the same in game?" I'm pretty sure that all of our vehicles have just very different stats from each other. Like, we had a lot of room, and I think that was the main thing that Foggy, our design director, spent a lot of his personal time on in the game, was sort of differentiating the vehicles from each other, figuring out how a sports car should feel different from a truck, which should feel different from a sedan, which should feel different from whatever, a Jeep.
Yeah.
Take care of
I think that,
yourself
I'm pretty sure they have different hit points and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They definitely drive differently. Like,
Drive
some of
really
them are very squirrely. Like, I don't think any of them drive like real cars.
But in my mind, in a good way, it's like I don't want my real car to be able to just go into a slide at the touch of a button. But I'm really glad that the cars in this game do, because you can do some badass stuff in this game you can't do in reality.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff with them like that. I really like the muscle cars because they're just not even cars. They're more like weird things that just move around in crazy ways.
And I definitely can verify that the sports cars have a lot less hit points than a lot of the other cars in the game, because I like to drive fast, and so sometimes even though they don't have a very good capacity, they're not often like the best choice for going scavenging in. I still like to drive them, and so I end up just smashing them to pieces because they're basically made out of fiberglass. So because we've only got 10 minutes left, because I've got questions about whether anybody's going to know the answer to this next question, I think we should jump into our last giveaway. So let's head over here and do it. So this is based on the person you can blame for this question is Brian Giammi, because he wrote a lot of our item descriptions. He one of the areas that he's responsible for in the game is the design of the weapons and the consumables and just all the stuff you can pick up and the looting systems. So he wrote a lot of the item descriptions, and the ones that he didn't write, he was very familiar with. The ones that were written by, say, Andy or Marcus, he was still pretty familiar with. And so he had one specific one that he wanted to ask about. So let's see who has read the description of this particular gun, and we'll see who can. Here we go. So I'm not asking about people in the real world. I'm asking about characters in the game. Who designed the Trumbull Gatekeeper? The Trumbull Gatekeeper is a gun in the game, and if you read its description, it says who designed it. And this is kind of a deep cut reference for people who have been following our streams for a really long time. I know Brian's been a guest on them for a long time, and that's kind of why he was amused by this particular fact, this particular piece of trivia, because it dates back to the earliest streams we were doing for the Year 1 Survival Edition, and sort of in-jokes that developed within the community. So, wow, okay, so it looks like... Whoa, we are actually seeing people getting the answer to this one. I really was not sure that was going to work, but yeah, we are seeing people getting the answer to this question. So that's really good to see. So I'm going to we'll wait for a little bit for Megan to do the random part of this to make sure that that we're compensating for things like lag. But I'm pretty impressed with you guys. Because there's another hint, but it doesn't look like you guys need it. So. While Megan's doing good job, everybody. When Megan's doing the calculation, we're going to go back to Dru's game here. So Sir Mix-a-Lot asks, will monthly challenges come back? Talking about those old streams we used to do for the Year 1 Survival Edition. They were all about Xbox Live challenges. And so right now, we're still maintaining the challenges on the Year 1 Survival Edition. If you still have Yos and you're still playing it, there are still monthly challenges coming out for that game, and we don't really have a plan to stop. And so, I mean, it's the same challenges repeating. You get the same rewards, but if you got the Year 1 Survival Edition, say, for free with the Ultimate Edition of State of Decay 2, and you never picked up any of those old unlockables, you can still get them. We're still running those challenges. Every month I get an email where, I look over the plan, I approve it, and we send it off, and another challenge gets unlocked. But we haven't planned to support that with State of Decay 2. It's more of an older platform feature, and so, but we really liked what it did. We liked the fact that it gave us the ability to engage with the community on a regular basis, to do regular content drops, where somebody could get access to something new they didn't have access to before. There were a lot of really good things about it and that we like. So I don't think we're planning to bring back that actual specific feature, the challenge feature, but we are looking at ways to do the same things, to try to achieve the same goals, because we really liked what that experience was like, both for us and for from the way you guys reported, having fun with it. So stay tuned on that. We don't have anything to announce specifically right now, but we definitely appreciate the fact that that was a fun time for all of us, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to talk to you more about some of the ideas we're exploring. Okay, so Megan is getting very close. Okay, yeah, it looks like Megan's got a couple of winners. So let's head back into quiz mode. And so the answer, as a lot of you got, was Cletus. Cletus was he was the sign fixer in the original game, and he moved on to weapon design, and he designed the Trumbull Gatekeeper. So the winners on Twitch, Gooniverse is our winner. So congratulations, Gooniverse. Megan's you and Megan get in contact with each other. She'll figure out how she can get that code to you, and then over on Mixer, Zombie Killer Ma is with a bunch of threes in the name. I don't exactly know how you want me to pronounce it. I'm saying Zombie Killer Ma is the winner over there. So congratulations, both of you. You'll get free codes for the Independence Pack. If you already have the Independence Pack, now you've got a cool gift to give somebody that you like. So congratulations, and we've got 5 minutes left. So if people have any last-minute questions or things they want to talk about, feel free to shoot them our way. And thank you, Megan, by the way, for running that whole thing behind the scenes. And so everybody who won, we had 3 winners today. So anybody who won, make sure that you're getting in contact with Megan and getting your codes. And we'll try to do these a little bit more often too. We've been kind of spotty with them a little bit, but we'll try to do giveaways every stream if we can. So if you guys, if anybody's interested in potentially getting a free copy of the Independence Pack, you should keep coming back to our stream every week. We're here every Wednesday from 1 to 2, so that's Pacific time. So come on back, and if you didn't get it this time, if you got the right answer but you didn't get the prize, come back, maybe you'll take another shot at it.
Oh no. No way am I catching this blood plague bullshit.
So Toaster Bro is asking about specific weapon models, whether we'll get like an M16 or an M4A1 in the game, and I feel like we might already have one of those. I'm not sure. I know we've got like an AR-15, which is along the same lines, but not exactly the same the same model of gun. So right this very second, we're not making any weapons because Brant is out sick, and normally a lot of that stuff would fall into his plate. But we definitely are planning to keep expanding our weapon roster over time. I don't know if I definitely can't promise any particular guns, but we've got a lot of folks around here who are the same, who are just as big of fans of this hardware as you guys are, and would love to see some of your favorite guns, some of their favorite guns get into the game. So, just stick with us. We do want to keep expanding the content in State of Decay 2. So hopefully we will get to some of those things, because I know those options are really popular. So, probably our last question. Super Pire 2000 wants to know: do we have any tips? They're brand new to the game. They're a lot of the folks that are in the chat. They've been playing the game for months, but Super Pire is new and wants to know, do you have any sort of just your top level tip? Some friend of yours has just started the game. What are you going to tell him?
Cars are the best weapons.
That's a very good one. Because, just like any weapon, cars degrade over time, so you got to be careful with them. But, when I was preparing for this, I had some pretty weak characters that I just recruited, and I really wanted to reduce the number of infestations in my world because my folks, their morale was going down. Mm-hmm. And so, at first I tried to load up with a bunch of explosives and a bunch of fire and stuff to try to take out these infestations. But eventually, this character was so tired and exhausted, I just started driving up outside infestations, honking my horn, and just driving back and forth across the zombies until they were all dead. So that is really powerful. Personally, the thing that I always tell people to do, this isn't like a how to be a master of the game type tip, but one thing that I always really focus on is really trying to get to know your characters, because a lot of these guys, it's very easy to just look at their health bar, their stamina bar, and their skills, and just sort of judge them based on that. But there's a lot of we've had a lot of fun building this. Whoa! Building the system to generate. Are you kidding? Somebody killed.
No,
to generate random and unique characters who it's really sad if they die because they're so special and unique. And there's a lot of weird opportunities to kind of put together just strange random stories. Traits coming together to turn a character into just more than just the sum of their parts. So I always want people to look at that, partly because it was the part of the game I worked on, and so I want them to appreciate the stuff that I did, but partly just because, I don't know, it's one of the reasons that I got really excited about the prospect of making this game, the fact that we were going to build this random character generator and and try to try to come up with a system that would generate characters for us on the fly that are interesting zombie survivors, and not just sort of a random collection of stats. But with that, on that note, it is 2 o'clock, and we need to get out of here. So woohoo! Yes, that is a well-timed emote, and but it is also sad to leave you guys.
Look at that.
But we'll see you again later, okay? You guys come back. Should I end on that one? Yeah, let's end on that one.
Look at that.
We'll be back later. See you later. And say goodbye to Dru, everybody, because
Bye, everybody.
Dru has been awesome, and I really appreciate all of the things that he's looted for my community. So, there we go.